That's how boring the Bitcoin market is right now. You might as well be hearing me slurp on coffee that's way too hot with a mouth that's burnt now. That's how boring this market is. And everyone is losing their goddamn minds. And I think we have just started our march to $340,000 of Bitcoin. I have basically, again, like I said, when I started this YouTube channel and I started being British HODL and whatever, interesting actually. One of the reasons why I started being British HODL and doing this is being British HODL sort of allowed me to deal with part of my activity bias. Having to do something. I've been doing something since I was 16 years old. Real estate, et cetera, et cetera. And I can't, maybe some of you can relate. A lot of you can't, because what I've come to realize is that a lot of Bitcoiners and a lot of people that are in Bitcoin are like socialists that want to get rich. They're not really capitalists. They're not interested in making money. They're not interested in creating value. They're interested in taking their scraps of value, putting it into something, sitting around doing absolutely nothing with their life and hoping that that's okay. The good news is, with the way the fiat system works, that's going to be okay. Going to be able to do nothing and take a little bit of your wages that you probably don't deserve. And that's going to be all right, right? Again, I said probably. I'm not making a judgment, probably. I'm talking about most of you, not all of you, right? But real capitalists, we can't really just sit around doing nothing. And what I realized, I had to humble myself, because every business idea that I thought of, every investment that I thought of when I first, started thinking about what the hell else am I going to do with Bitcoin around after I pivoted my gold position. By the way, I don't think that there is a portfolio of gold and Bitcoin, because they're along the same purpose curve and along the same risk curve. So if you're going to get into one of them, then it might as well be Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin fails, then gold fails, and if gold fails, I guess that's a wrong statement, because gold, there is enough boomers that would make gold last, but gold will fail more and more over time to keep up with the amount of money printing as it already has, right? As Bitcoin is accelerating to its position. That's what I meant. Who the hell? Right. Anyway, so one of the things I had to humble myself, I am going to, hold on, I'm going to close this. One of the reasons why I started British HODL and being this person on the internet, really? How is this even possible? I even shut it off and it's still buzzing. Right, that should take care of it. One of the reasons why I started doing this was because all of the business ideas that I had to humble myself to the point of realizing that no matter what investment, no matter what business idea, it was not going to keep up with Bitcoin, at least for a time period, right? There's going to be a market saturation acceleration point, and then at some point in the future, if, as I said, 2 years ago, if and when Bitcoin hits a market saturation point, and the CAGR isn't 30 to 50%, and we're now slowing down to match the S&P, well, now at that point, and by the way, I don't know when that comes. Maybe that comes at $20 trillion market cap, $50 trillion market, $100 trillion market cap, I don't know. But when that does happen, then maybe there's an opportunity to do something that yields a higher return. Because as a capitalist, it's about return, right? At some point, there's going to be people that say, okay, yeah, but you can have a business for your passion. And I completely agree with you. In fact, I'm looking at a couple right now that, even if they don't generate a high, an equal or a higher return to Bitcoin, there's just certain things that I am interested in and interested to put into the world. And I think those things are worth it. But I had to realize that nothing I could do could match that. Nothing I could do could match me putting my capital into Bitcoin and leaving it alone. And then obviously MSTR came along, and then MSTR is a higher return than Bitcoin. So you need now some kind of balance, right? And this is what's happening right now. We are just basically on this track of Bitcoin becoming institutionalized, Bitcoin becoming an asset that everyone needs to own. You got Larry Fink, Ray Dalio, all of the biggest capital allocators in the world basically agreeing that Bitcoin is a must-own asset. Larry Fink is on 60 Minutes saying that he was wrong about Bitcoin. Fantastic. This is what we want. And what's happened? You got all, you know, I think that this cycle is completely and utterly muted. In fact, I would even go to say this cycle hasn't even started yet. This cycle hasn't even begun because of President Trump and the tariffs and the liquidity tightening that's been happening. Jerome Powell just came out and said that in the next few months they may stop tightening the Fed balance sheet, which basically is one step before and start loosening it. And so this cycle hasn't even started yet. And how else do we know that? Well, if you extend out, if you just go on the chart and extend out a line from the previous two tops of the last cycle, right? 64, 69, and just extend that out. We are basically flirting with resistance. So we haven't even decisively broken the resistance line on the previous high. Now, technical analysis is what it is, right? It's basically a bunch of astrology, but technical analysis works because there's a mass psychosis that makes it work. So we are literally right now flirting, and we have been for months, with this resistance line created by the previous two highs from 64, 69 highs of the previous cycle. And when we break through that, we will start this new cycle. Until then, we will not, and we have not. And so I think that there is and by the way, that's on the log chart. Bitcoin is an exponential asset, so you have to look at it on the log chart. There's going to be a couple of morons that say, oh no, that's not working out, blah, blah, blah. Look at it on the log chart. So anyway, Bitcoin has not even started. And I know that we are on the way to $340,000 a coin. That is my target, right? Roughly, give or take, 20 to 40,000. But we are on the way to $340,000 per coin. I think that will be the quote unquote cycle high, and before any major consolidation. And we're just waiting to go. It's so boring. I might as well burn my mouth with this hot coffee than sit here listening to anything to do with Bitcoin right now. And that's the thing that's also interesting as well when it comes to making content. Because I'm saying the same shit over and over again. Right now, you should be figuring out, what else do I want to do with my life? Because this deal is done. Bitcoin is done. Bitcoin is won. Bitcoin is moving. Bitcoin is going. It's being adopted. It is being adopted by the highest levels of capital that you can imagine. When I first started talking about Bitcoin, people were joking. People were saying BlackRock was going to kill Bitcoin. Not that BlackRock wants to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. And that's how far we have come in just like 3 years. So this is all just a bunch of drama and bullshit, right? You can even see it. Like when you really watch some of this Bitcoin content that's being put out, you can literally see it in people's faces. They're just bored. They're bored of talking about the same damn news, because the reality is the price action is the most interesting thing. Most people don't want to admit that. Now, there is a subsection of Bitcoiners, the original Bitcoiners, the OG Bitcoiners, the people that were actually in it because of the technology, and those people, we stand on those giant shoulders. But for most people, they're in it because of the price action. You can see it in the Bitcoin treasury world. Everyone's like, oh, all of a sudden, now that the price is down 90%, everyone's talking about Bitcoin per share, and that's the most important thing. When the price was flying, the only thing you gave a shit about was the share price. The reality is, price action is coming, and liquidity hasn't even started flowing. And when that liquidity does flow, I think Bitcoin is going to $340,000 a coin. I do not try and time this thing. My assets are basically locked away in trusts, and I can't even do anything about it, right? That's really what it is. I can't even do anything about it. They're locked away, the positions are made, and that's it. But people are acting like the cycle's over. Seeing crypto people, and now this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of people start talking about the cycle being over. Why? Because there's this one metric that says if you sell 18 months after, or the top comes 18 months after the halving, there's like 3 data points. 3. I guarantee that you assess more data points when you feel like you need to take a shit than the amount of active data points there are for that metric being assessed as true, the 18-month rule. You think about more than 3 data points when you're thinking about what to eat for breakfast or lunch or dinner than you do about the most important asset humanity has ever seen. So a lot of this is a bunch of bullshit, and it's gonna, and again, this is why you don't time it. You cannot time it, because you don't know what's gonna happen. All you gotta do is play the macro play. And by the way, I am more and more convinced that we are going to see some kind of traditional cycle, but I think the magnitudes are gonna change. I don't know if we're gonna drop 80, 90%. Can't see it. Price, can't even move down decisively by like 20%, and we're in an apparent bull run right now, right? Previous bull runs is 30% down 7 times in a bull market. So I am more and more confident that we are going to see a price run up, an explosive run up. It's going to sniff out a bunch of liquidity, and then it's going to have a correction. And there's going to be a bunch of profit taking, and those people who took their profits are then going to realize that they made the mistake, and then they're going to get back into it. And I think that's what's going to create the next cycle of hodlers, because right now it looks like anyone who's going to sell has already sold. It looks like we're reaching the end of this consolidation period, and actually, and it's a beginning period of the bull market here. And I think we're about to see an explosive period between now and February of 2026. I think February of 2026, could be interesting. That's all I'm going to say for now. I don't want to go into the maths of why I think we're going to $340,000, because I don't think people fucking deserve it. Like, one of the things that pisses me off about the Bitcoin space is the entitlement mentality, right? Do you think, when I was in real estate, when I was in gold, when I was in everything else, you had proprietary information that gave you an edge over everybody else? That is what is going on with Tradfi right now. One of the most beautiful, most exciting, one of the most juicy things that I hear from Bitcoiners is that we're irrelevant now. Yeah, you are. Should have got more Bitcoin. You're irrelevant. The Tradfi markets are here. The Tradfi markets drive assets. They see you getting excited on Twitter. They see you acting like $10,000 is a little bit, Viagra-ish. And what do? Come drop a hammer on it. Right? That is Tradfi. That's what they do. It's not price manipulation, right? Everyone thinks it's price manipulation. It's not price manipulation. It's someone has more power than you do. And every little Bitcoiner with 0.2 Bitcoin wants to think that they're equal to everybody else. You're not. You're not. And you're about to wake up to this reality because people are about to and are buying up Bitcoin. These are the people that you were laughing at in your little groups, in your little Bitcoin groups. You were laughing at them, you know, while you fucking can't even pay for a whole bill for everyone in a restaurant. You were laughing at them saying, they're going to be late. The wealthy are going to be late. The rich are going to be late. We're going to tear down the system. We're going to do this, that, and the other. And the reality is they're here now at $110,000 a Bitcoin, buying up more Bitcoin than your brain can conceive of. And how do we know that? Because the price doesn't go down. So there's a bid in the market consistently, can see that. And now you're sitting here going, oh, we're gonna top in, now, basically October, 18 months from the previous halving. And the reality is you don't know. And the reality is I don't know. But I know how Tradfi thinks. And I know how the price action is. And I know what that price action means. And what it means is you are going to get fucked. That's what that price action means. Because you are going to sell your Bitcoin, you're going to get into your treasury companies, you're going to go do something else, thinking that we've topped out, and then the price is going to go to $340,000 and leave you standing there with you-know-what in your hand. So the reality is this: stop listening to people. Center yourself, understand what investment you are making. It's the hardest asset humanity has ever created and ever seen. Infinite amounts of liquidity are coming into this market because of who's involved. And just sit back, shut the fuck up, and we're about to get fabulously wealthy, or for some of us, wealthier. So the reality that I want you to take away from this video, and I don't even know what to make. I'm having to create videos basically shouting at you because the news is so boring. What is there to talk about? There is nothing to talk about in Bitcoin. But I wanted to let you know that I think the price target for this cycle high is 340,000. I'm more convinced now that we're going to see a traditional cycle. I think it's going to be an explosive period between right now and February. And I don't know what's going to happen after that. We'll have to reassess. Might be wrong. Who knows? But I'll have my Bitcoin because I'm not an idiot. And I'm not trading in and out of it. I'm not listening to morons on Twitter. You know, one of the biggest things that I've started doing, and it's quite sad, but one of the biggest things that you have to do when you have money is listen to the person talking and say, what would I do if I woke up tomorrow with that person's net worth? And if the answer is not, I would immediately kill myself, then listen. Because, and it's not about the amount of net worth, it's the decision making. It's the emotions around the decision making that matter. And if you've got a tiny net worth and you live in London, New York, whatever, then your thoughts and your decision making is based on emotions that I don't know. Your emotions that are driving your thinking are dangerous. So that's what I do when I start thinking about, someone, I start hearing opinions of people and whatever. I want to listen to what Adam Back has to say, right? Because Adam Back got into Bitcoin, created Bitcoin, one of the founding fathers of Bitcoin. And guess what he's doing? Buying more Bitcoin. I want to listen to what Larry Fink has to say, right? I definitely wouldn't kill myself if I woke up tomorrow with Larry Fink's net worth. And Larry Fink is saying he was wrong about Bitcoin and unlimited capital's coming to Bitcoin. I want to hear what the president has to say of the United States. The president of the United States says Bitcoin's amazing, America's going to be Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Right? The random moron that I don't know on Twitter talking about he's going to sell his $50,000 of Bitcoin, I don't give a shit. And neither should you. Because ultimately, there's always only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.